Robert Carson froze in the doorway like someone had hit pause on his entire life. For a split second, he could have sworn the house felt colder, like something big was about to happen. The type of moment where your gut whispers, "Buddy, pay attention." And he did, because the unopened invitation on his desk had been staring him down all day like a loaded question. Before we continue, please tell us, where in the world are you tunning in form? We love seeing how far our stories travel. We love you to subscribe our channel for more interesting single dad stories. The annual charity gala. Black tie, bring a plus one. Yeah, that last part hit different. Robert was a 42-year-old CEO with everything except the very thing everyone assumed he should already have: a partner to walk into rooms with. Ever since Jennifer passed, the world felt too loud and too empty at the same time. 3 years later, the loss didn't cut as sharply, but it still held him like a shadow he couldn't outrun. Lily, now 6, had her mother's gentle eyes and wild, curious heart. She brought color back into his world, but even she couldn't ease the sting of walking into those events solo while people whispered behind champagne glasses. That's when Margaret, his assistant, tough as leather but warm beneath it, dropped the idea like some casual Tuesday suggestion. A professional companion for event service. Robert had laughed at first, then frowned, then stared at the wall for an uncomfortable amount of time. "It's just support," Margaret insisted. "Not romance. Think of it like hiring a professional for any other job." So, reluctantly, he made the call. Now he was tying his bow tie, muttering to the mirror, "Man, this better not be the dumbest thing I've ever done." His heart thudded when the doorbell rang. "Daddy, someone's here," Lily shouted. He headed down the sweeping staircase, that uneasy prickling still running up his spine. And there she was, Claire. Younger than he expected, maybe early 30s, soft blonde waves over her shoulders, an elegant black dress that looked classy without trying too hard. But it was her smile that hit him first, warm, real, not plastic like he'd feared. "You must be Lily," Claire said, crouching in front of his daughter like she had all the time in the world. Lily twirled in her pink dress. "Pink's my favorite. What's yours?" "Blue," Claire said softly, "like a sunny sky with no clouds messing it up." The connection between them sparked instantly, and Robert, forgotten for a moment, just watched. Something about Claire's energy felt strangely familiar, comforting, almost like Jennifer's quiet way with Lily. Introductions followed along with Lily's bluntness. "Are you Daddy's girlfriend?" Claire didn't flinch. "No, sweetheart. Just a friend for tonight." Lily nodded thoughtfully. "Good, Daddy needs more friends." Robert's breath caught part embarrassment, part truth. Moments later, Lily was dragging Claire to her playroom, showing drawings, one labeled Mommy, one for Daddy and me, and one empty space. Someone knew someday. Claire didn't laugh, she didn't pity. She simply said, "Sometimes the best people show up when you're not looking." Robert didn't know why, but those words hit deep. And he had no idea the night was about to twist in a way he never, ever saw coming. But hours later, when he'd get a phone call that would shake him to the core, he'd realize Claire wasn't just a hired companion. She was about to step straight into the most vulnerable part of his life. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe and return to our channel for more life-changing, emotional, and heartwarming stories. The drive to the downtown hotel started off quiet. The comfortable kind of quiet where two people were figuring out the moment, not trying to fill space with useless talk. The city lights flashed across Claire's calm expression, giving her this serene glow that Robert couldn't quite put into words. "I'm sorry about Lily's questions," Robert said finally, gripping the steering wheel a little too tightly. "She's up pretty straightforward these days," Claire smiled gently. "Don't apologize. Kids say what adults are too scared to. It's honestly refreshing." Robert huffed a quiet laugh. Yeah, she doesn't have a filter at all, zero. Not even the tiny kind. She's sweet, Claire said, and she's processing things the only way kids know how honestly. That landed harder than he expected. He glanced at Claire again. She wasn't sugarcoating anything, wasn't walking on eggshells around him like so many people did after Jennifer died. No pity, just understanding. So, Robert said, clearing his throat, can I ask how you ended up in this line of work? If that's not weird or too personal. No, Claire said simply, watching the city roll by. It's okay. She took a slow breath. I used to teach elementary school, loved it actually. Kids were chaos, but the good kind. But when my mom got sick, I had to step away. She needed full-time care, and teaching didn't give me that flexibility. Robert softened. Alzheimer's? Claire nodded. Yeah, the kind that steals a person piece by piece. She forgot me before she passed, but I sat with her anyway. Love doesn't need memory. Her voice didn't crack, but something in Robert's chest did. He looked at her longer this time, not because she was beautiful, but because she was real. Strong in ways he couldn't fully describe. And damn, it had been a long time since he'd felt that quiet pull towards someone. When they arrived at the ballroom, the place shimmered with chandeliers and polished marble floors. Exactly the kind of event Robert loathed attending alone. Elegant chatter, tinkling glasses, people pretending they weren't judging everyone else, but with Claire beside him, it felt different, safer, like wearing armor he didn't know he needed. She didn't cling, didn't play pretend. When people asked who she was, Claire answered with easy confidence. I'm a friend who joined Robert for the evening. That honesty disarmed everyone. No awkward glances, no whispers of poor Robert. Instead, people genuinely enjoyed talking to her. She laughed easily, told funny stories about former students, like the kid who tried to MacGyver the fire alarm system because he was testing gravity. Even Robert's business partners leaned in to hear her. And he kept catching himself watching her grace, her effortless warmth. More than once, he had to look away so he didn't seem obvious. After dinner, Claire excused herself to call a friend, giving Robert a rare moment of quiet. He stepped onto the balcony, inhaling the cool night air. His phone buzzed. Mrs. Walsh, and her tone was tight, worried. Mr. Carson, I'm so sorry to bother you, but Lily, she's asking for you. She's really upset. The world seemed to tilt. That gnawing fatherly panic hit instantly. I'm on my way. He turned to go find Claire, but little did he know the night was about to turn much more emotional than he expected. Because when he got home, Robert wouldn't just find a frightened child. He would see Claire in a completely different light. A light he never expected. Robert didn't waste a second. He found Claire near the ballroom's garden entrance, finishing her phone call. She looked up the instant she saw his face, and her expression changed, concern slipping in instantly. What happened? She asked, stepping toward him. It's Lily, he said, already feeling that familiar knot tighten in his chest. She woke up scared again. Mrs. Walsh said she's crying and asking for me. Claire didn't hesitate, not even a blink. I'm coming with you. You don't have to. I know, she said firmly, but I want to. Something about the way she said it, steady, sure, calmed him more than he expected. They left the gala in a hurry, walking past glittering tables and curious glances. Outside, the night air hit them like a reminder. Real life didn't pause for fancy events. The drive home was quiet but not uncomfortable. Just heavy, emotional. Claire rested her hands softly in her lap like she was preparing herself for whatever Lily might need. Does she get nightmares often? Claire asked gently. Lately, yeah, Robert muttered. She's been terrified I'll disappear like her mom. Even saying it out loud hurt. Claire nodded slowly, thoughtfully. Grief at her age is messy. It shows up in ways grown-ups don't expect. Robert shot her a sideways glance. How do you know all this? She offered a small smile. Former teacher. I've spent years watching kids try to make sense of things adults can barely explain, and she hesitated. Loss changes you. You recognize it in others. Those words settled over him like a blanket, warm but heavy. When they pulled into the driveway, the porch light glowed like a beacon. Mrs. Walsh opened the front door before Robert even reached it. "She's upstairs, poor thing," she said softly. Robert headed straight up, Claire close behind him but giving him room. In Lily's room, he found his daughter sitting up in her bed, cheeks stained with tears, clutching her stuffed bunny like it was a lifeline. When she saw him, her little face crumpled. "Daddy," she sobbed, reaching out. He sat beside her, pulling her into his arms. "I'm here, sweetheart, I'm right here." "I dreamed you didn't come back," she choked. "Like Mommy didn't." Robert's heart squeezed painfully. He rocked her gently, whispering, "I'll always come back to you, always." But Lily wasn't convinced. The fear in her eyes was too deep, too familiar. Then Claire stepped softly into the doorway. She didn't intrude, she simply watched. And for a long moment, Robert watched her watching them. Her eyes glimmered with understanding, not pity. Like she knew exactly what it felt like to lose something you can never replace. "Lily," Claire said softly, walking closer. "Can I tell you something?" Lily sniffled. "Okay," and Claire told her about her own childhood fears. Her grandmother's words, the reminder that love, even painful love, is still stronger than fear. Little by little, Lily's breathing slowed, her grip loosened, her tiny shoulders unclenched. "Can you stay?" she whispered. Robert opened his mouth to decline for her, but Claire beat him to it, glancing at him first, asking permission silently. "If you don't mind," she whispered. Robert felt something inside him shift. Claire stayed. She rocked gently in the old chair beside the bed, telling a soft, dreamy story. Lily fell asleep halfway through, her tiny hand still gripping Robert's. And as the room quieted, Robert looked at Claire, really looked. He wasn't sure when it happened, but something about her made the air feel different. Safer. Warmer. But when they went downstairs afterward, the late-night conversation they shared would crack open a door in Robert's heart he thought he'd shut forever. The house felt unusually still once Lily drifted into sleep, like the world had exhaled, leaving only quiet. Robert led Claire downstairs, both of them stepping softly as though the calm upstairs might shatter if they made too much noise. In the kitchen, the warm overhead light flicked on, giving the space a cozy, late-night diner vibe. Robert reached for the kettle on autopilot, the familiar motion grounding him. "You okay?" Claire asked softly, leaning against the counter with her arms folded, her posture relaxed but her eyes full of gentle awareness. He nodded, though it wasn't entirely true. "Yeah, I just hate that she carries so much fear. She's only 6. She shouldn't have to worry about things like losing people." Claire nodded slowly. "Kids who have lost someone early, there's a part of them that stays alert, like they're always waiting for the next hit." Robert looked at her. "Sounds like you've lived through that." "Yeah," she admitted. "My mom was diagnosed young. I basically grew up watching her fade. Some days she'd forget the simplest things, and I'd pretend it didn't scare me. But it did. Every time." Her voice didn't shake, but there was a softness to it, a crack that showed strength, not weakness. The kettle whistled. Robert poured tea for both of them, sliding a mug toward her. "Thanks for staying," he said. "You really didn't have to." Claire wrapped her hands around the warm mug. "Robert, if I didn't want to be here, I wouldn't be." Her honesty hit him square in the chest. They sat at the kitchen island, the space between them charged but comfortable. The clock on the wall ticked quietly, marking the slow, steady rhythm of a conversation Robert hadn't realized he'd needed. They talked, really talked. About their parents, about fears, about the weird, unexpected loneliness that sneaks up on you even when you've built an entire life. Robert admitted things he'd never said aloud, not even in therapy. How he feared failing Lily. How sometimes the house felt too big, too empty, too full of memories of Jennifer. Claire didn't look away, didn't offer fake comfort. She just listened, really listened. "You're doing better than you think," she finally said. "Lily feels safe with you. That's huge." Robert looked down at his mug. "Some days I'm just winging it." "Welcome to parenting," she said with a small laugh. "Kids don't want perfection. They want honesty and effort." Robert exhaled, his shoulders relaxing a little. "It's been a long time since I talked to someone like this." Claire smiled softly. "Same." For a moment, neither spoke. The silence wasn't awkward, it was warm, electric. Finally, Claire glanced at the clock. "It's late. I should head home before your housekeeper thinks I'm moving in." Robert laughed, an unexpected, genuine sound. "Let me drive you." Outside, the night had cooled. Crickets hummed. A soft breeze rustled the trees. The drive to her apartment felt too short, like the universe was trying to fast forward something he wanted to slow down. When he pulled up to her building, Claire hesitated with her hand on the door. "For the record," she said softly, "tonight wasn't work, at least not after I met Lily." Robert swallowed. "I don't want this to be the last time we talk." "It doesn't have to be," she said, and then, gently, she touched his hand, just for a second, just enough to leave heat behind. Then she slipped out of the car and disappeared inside. Robert drove home in silence, but his mind, his heart, neither were remotely quiet. And the next morning, when Lily asked if Claire could come back, Robert realized he wasn't the only one hoping the woman from last night wouldn't disappear. The morning sun spilled through the kitchen windows like someone had finally turned the brightness back up on life. Robert stood at the stove flipping pancakes. Well, more like burning pancakes, when Lily shuffled in wearing her unicorn pajamas, rubbing her eyes. "Daddy," she mumbled, climbing onto her chair, "can Claire come back?" The question hit him harder than he expected. He tried to play it cool, flipping a pancake that absolutely did not need flipping again. "Sweetheart, Claire was here just for the gala. She's busy." "She wasn't too busy to help me," Lily said, swinging her legs. "She made me feel better." Robert paused. Yeah, she made him feel better too. More than he'd admit out loud. "We'll see," he said gently. But apparently his daughter had inherited Jennifer's talent for bulldozing straight through his emotional defenses. "I think she should be our friend forever," Lily declared with full confidence. Robert chuckled, though his heart squeezed. Kids didn't tiptoe around their feelings, they just dropped them on the table like crayons. Maybe adults needed to borrow that honesty sometimes. After breakfast, he finally called the service, mostly to settle the bill, but also, maybe, to ask for Claire's contact information. The polite receptionist apologized. "We can't give out personal details, but if she chooses to reach out, she has your number." Robert thanked her, but disappointment settled into his stomach like a stone. Maybe last night meant more to him than it did to her. He tried to shake it off, tried to focus on work. But his phone buzzed that afternoon with an unknown number. He didn't usually answer those, but something told him to. "Robert," her voice, Claire's. He felt ridiculous for how relieved he sounded. "Claire, hi, I didn't expect." "I asked the service for your number," she admitted. "I wanted to check on Lily. How is she today?" He leaned back in his chair, fighting the stupid smile tugging at his mouth. "She woke up fine, and she asked for you multiple times." There was a pause, a soft one, warm in a way text never could be. "I'd like to see her again," Claire said, "if that's okay." He didn't even pretend to think about it. Yeah, I'd like that too." That one museum trip turned into another, then into Saturday visits, then into afternoons where Claire sat on the living room floor helping Lily paint crooked rainbows while Robert pretended to work in his study, pretended poorly since he kept wandering out just to hear their laughter. Claire never overstepped. She didn't try to fill Jennifer's place. She simply added something to their home: light, laughter, calmness, the good kind of chaos. For weeks, then months, this gentle routine grew. Robert found excuses to be present. Claire found reasons to stay a little longer each time. And Lily, she absolutely adored her. The shift was slow, organic, like a sunrise creeping over the horizon before anyone notices it's already changed the whole sky. One evening, while Claire and Lily painted together, Robert caught himself smiling at them, really smiling, like a man who'd forgotten what that felt like. And he knew deep down something had awakened in him, something he thought was gone forever. But it wasn't until a warm summer night, 6 months after the gala, that Robert finally realized just how deep this connection had grown and how terrifying that truth really was. Summer crept in gently, turning late afternoons into golden hours that made everything look softer, like life itself had turned down the harsh lighting. On one of those warm nights, Robert sat on the back porch with Claire while Lily ran around the yard chasing fireflies like they were tiny floating stars. Claire watched Lily with a smile that tugged at Robert's chest. "She's got some serious energy," Claire said, laughing as Lily darted by screaming, "I almost got one." "She gets it from her mother," Robert said quietly. Claire's smile softened. "Jennifer," he nodded. "She could go from 0 to 60 in pure joy. Lily's the same way." His voice carried a mix of nostalgia and ache, a tone Claire had come to recognize. They sat quietly for a moment, the warm air settling around them. Fireflies blinked in the darkening yard like tiny lanterns guiding the world toward night. Then Robert spoke again, but this time his voice carried a rawness he rarely let out. "I need to tell you something." Claire turned, giving him her full attention. "When I called that service," he said, rubbing the back of his neck, "I was just trying to survive one uncomfortable night. I didn't expect," he gestured vaguely between them, struggling. This, Claire repeated softly. "This connection," he admitted. Lily adores you, and I—" He paused, taking a shaky breath. "Claire, I haven't felt anything like this since Jennifer. Honestly, it scares the hell out of me." Claire's expression gently shifted, surprised but not startled, like she'd felt the same current running between them but had been waiting for him to name it. "Robert," she said softly, "losing someone you love changes how you trust happiness. It makes everything feel temporary even when it's not." "That's exactly it," he whispered. "I keep thinking, what if I lose someone again? What if Lily does?" Claire reached over and took his hand. Not dramatically, not with fireworks, just a simple, steady gesture that said she wasn't going anywhere. "I can't promise nothing bad will ever happen," she said. "Life doesn't hand out guarantees, but I care about you. I care about Lily. And I'm here now, not because I was hired, not because I feel obligated, but because I choose to be." Her words hit with quiet force. Robert felt something inside him, something he'd buried, shift like a door creaking open after years of rust. Terrifying, liberating, Claire smiled gently. "Maybe the question isn't what if we lose someone again? Maybe it's what if we gain something beautiful." Before he could respond, Lily barreled toward them with a firefly cupped in her hands. "Look, it likes me." Her joy broke the heavy moment, and Robert laughed. A real, warm laugh he hadn't felt in years. Claire laughed too, the sound blending with Lily's giggles and the warm night air. Robert watched them, these two pieces of his life slowly intertwining, and he knew he couldn't pretend anymore. Something real was happening, something worth risking. But vulnerability always invites fear. And love is the biggest risk of all. Still, none of them were prepared for what would happen next. The moment that would push Robert to choose between fear and the future waiting right in front of him. Autumn began sneaking into the evenings, Cooler breezes, earlier sunsets, that crisp smell in the air that tells you something is shifting. And something definitely was shifting in Robert's life. Slowly, gently, naturally. One Saturday, Lily begged to paint outside, so Robert set up a small table on the porch. Claire knelt beside Lily, helping her mix colors as they attempted to paint the world's most epic sunset, according to Lily's official announcement. Robert pretended to read a work file, but really, he was watching them. Every laugh, every splash of color, every tiny moment that made their little trio feel like it had always been meant to happen. He didn't know when it happened. He didn't know how, but the truth hit him clean and clear. His house didn't feel empty anymore. His life didn't feel paused. His heart wasn't locked up like it used to be. Later that evening, after Lily had fallen asleep with paint still smudged on her cheek, Robert and Claire stepped inside. The house was quiet again, but it wasn't the lonely kind of quiet, just peaceful. Claire slipped off her light jacket and sighed contentedly. "She wore me out," she teased. "You wear her out too," Robert countered. "Which is a miracle. I used to think she ran on battery packs from another dimension." Claire laughed, shaking her head. But then her smile softened and she looked at him, really looked at him. "You've changed, you know," he blinked. "Me?" "Yes," she said gently. "When I first met you, everything about you felt heavy, like you were carrying more than one man should. But now, you laugh, you breathe, you're here not just surviving." Her words hit something deep inside him. "Claire," he said quietly, "I didn't realize how much I needed someone to talk to like I talk to you. Someone who doesn't tiptoe around me." She stepped closer. "You needed someone who sees you, I get that." He swallowed. "I'm scared, though. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't. I don't ever want Lily to hurt again. I don't want to hurt again." Claire didn't back away. "Robert, caring for people is scary. Loving them is even scarier. But avoiding love doesn't save you from pain. It just guarantees loneliness." Her voice was low, steady, comforting. "And I don't want lonely for you," she whispered. Robert took a slow breath. Then he did something he hadn't done in years. He let his fear step aside just long enough to reach for the future. He cupped her cheek gently. "I think I'm ready to try, not perfectly, not fearlessly, but honestly." Claire leaned into his touch, her eyes soft. "That's all anyone could ask." He kissed her, soft, warm, not rushed, just real. The kind of kiss that felt like a promise, not a question. When they broke apart, Claire rested her forehead against his. "So, what happens now?" Robert smiled, a real one, full and unguarded. "Now, we take it slow, we do it right. For us, for Lily." Upstairs, a small voice suddenly called out, "Daddy, I need water." Claire laughed. Robert groaned dramatically. "And we start," he said, "with parent duty." Claire squeezed his hand. "Good. Because I'm not going anywhere." And for the first time in years, Robert believed it. The future didn't look scary anymore. It looked possible. It looked bright. It looked like home.